You told a joke and no one laughs? It doesn't have to be. There are some proven techniques that are guaranteed to make you more fun. You can find out more here in this video. There are a few different types of humor that we humans find almost universally funny. If you want to make others laugh, you should use these well-established methods. Essentially, two things are important here: the content and the communication. Let's start with the content, specifically 6 common types of humor sorted by difficulty. Hyperbole is universally considered extremely funny. It's really easy to make others laugh here. Overstate a quality and take it to the point of absurdity. The more exaggerated, the funnier. For example, the guy was so stupid he would even try to sell refrigerators to Eskimos. Really, every comedian likes to use this method because it works so well. Usually 3 consecutive and increasingly absurd exaggerations are used. Misdirection is another common type of humor that is easy to use and easy to understand. Whenever you steer a conversation in a certain direction, but then throw in a twist, it comes across as funny. For example, you know that feeling. You're on a date with this incredibly beautiful girl and everything is going so perfectly? Yeah, neither do I. This technique is particularly popular with stand-up comedians. The audience expects a certain punchline, but is then presented with a completely different one. This surprise effect makes the joke even funnier. Third, wordplay. When you exploit the ambiguity of different words, or create a clever new connection between them. For example, which is faster, heat or cold? Heat, because you can catch a cold. Or, 2 fish in a tank. One turns to the other and says, "Do you know how to drive this?" Puns are difficult for 2 reasons. Unless you're coming up with something original and clever, it's easy for the other person to already know the pun. This eliminates the element of surprise and it just isn't as funny anymore. Also, depending on the complexity of the pun, there's a good chance the other person doesn't understand it at all, or it just gets lost in your conversation. That's why you should rarely use puns or adapt them to your audience. Easing or teasing others is a type of humor that requires a little more finesse. The subject of the joke here is a particular quality or habit of the other person. For example, if she keeps tossing her hair, you could say, "Hey, watch where you throw that stuff or you'll put out my eye." There are 2 things you should definitely keep in mind with this method, otherwise you will quickly make yourself unpopular. Only joke about things that you know the other person has no self-esteem issues with. And always keep the playful teasing positive, otherwise it's easily taken as mockery. Another method is irony, meaning when you say something but mean exactly the opposite of it. For example, if someone breaks dishes and someone else says, "Great, well done," then almost everyone realizes that exactly the opposite is meant. But more subtle irony can easily be misunderstood, or even annoying. But used occasionally and timed well, irony can be downright hilarious. 6th, impersonation. Even the most boring story becomes incredibly entertaining when you bring the characters to life and play the characters. Adapt their behavior, choice of words, tone of voice, facial expressions and gestures and exaggerate that a little. Comedians like Kevin Hart or Louis C.K. get the most laughs for simply impersonating other characters. This method is extremely effective, but also difficult. You have to stay in your character and not give up the role too quickly. Otherwise it doesn't seem funny, but rather strange. Of all the methods explained here, this one has the greatest potential and is therefore particularly popular with successful comedians. But how is it that we actually perceive comedians as incredibly funny, even if they sometimes only tell everyday stories? Sure, they use the techniques explained here. But more importantly, they know exactly how to get a joke across. It's not just the content that counts, but how it's presented. Here are a few things to consider. First, you need to get your audience's undivided attention, otherwise your story will quickly drift away and you won't even get to the punchline. Depending on the situation, you can simply mention the other person's name. There really is nothing that makes a person listen to you more than hearing their own name. In a smaller group, usually hand in, "Hey, listen, I have a good story." In larger groups, it often takes more. For example, an introduction that creates excitement and makes you want more. Something like, "Let me tell you why this day was so important. By the way." The mere expectation that something will be funny already ensures that we find things funnier. A good introduction and the corresponding subcommunication really make a difference. So since everyone is listening to you, how you present your story matters. Often people try so hard to be funny that they get a little excited, and this usually results in nervous body language. Since you're using your body to signal that something is wrong here, your audience will be a little more tense as well. And that takes away any chance of you being funny. So if you're the center of attention, keep the following things in mind. Don't make hasty movements and generally don't fidget. Don't talk too fast, because that signals nervousness, and open up your body a little more. This is generally associated with self-confidence and a relaxed atmosphere. Even the best joke is doomed to fail in the wrong audience. Everyone just has a different sense of humor and finds different things funny. That's why it's so important that you don't rely on just one type of humor, but that you can draw on a wide spectrum. You just got to know 6 different approaches, so use them too. Incidentally, humor tends to depend on age and level of education. While children hardly understand puns and irony, this is usually very well received by students. With teenagers, playful teasing works a little better. But as I said, these are really just tendencies. There are simply no general rules here. After a joke, you should pause for a moment so people have a chance to laugh at it in the first place. This can often be observed with inexperienced comedians in particular. Jokes that are actually good don't get through to the audience because they don't have enough time to think about them. If you are interested in more tips and ideas that will make your life better, then subscribe to the channel, because there are new videos on exciting topics here every week. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. This way you can help me to make the videos better. That's it from me. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.